I signed up for this internship because I don't know a lot about art, and I want to learn more about art because everywhere I go I see art, so I want to know what I see.
I signed up because my friend mentioned it to me as an opportunity, and I thought working at the Brooklyn Museum was a really interesting opportunity, especially with something with feminist art that is related to me in a way, because I'm a woman, but also because I don't know much about it and I would like to know more about it, so I figured I should do it.
Feminism, I guess a person a person which treats both women and men equally, so no discrimination or segregation because of their sex.
Feminism is someone who bases everything on being a female, and like an example, like Judy Chicago, her dinner party was an example of being a feminist, like basing everything on the female and comparing everything to being a female.
Feminist art would be just art that makes women known. It could either be controversial, it could either be something that's strong, something that is made from a woman, and well, it might not look like it, but it is.
Feminist art is very detailed, it's very specific. Sometimes you may not be able to kind of interpret what it is, but there's a deeper message in feminist art. It's not always what is seen on the canvas. It's something more than that. Feminist art is something that you see through your eyes, but you feel in your heart. And I feel that it's really significant depending on the person who's looking at it. So for everyone, they may not get the same meaning or interpret the same feeling, but I think that feminist art is something that lies on the canvas, but it speaks to your heart.
What do you think the girls said about these artworks and why?
The ancient artwork that we learned about, that we saw, I think they said like the same thing about like it being mothers nurturing their children and stuff like that.
But they could probably relate to, like, in the near future. They could just think about it, because then themselves, they either in the future they might be mothers, and like the artwork they saw might be similar to that.
I think that they would acknowledge the breast and the hips, maybe telling them that they are women.
I think they'll also mention the same things that we mentioned about the shape, the size of the fertility goddess. I think they'll also have kind of some of the same questions as to why some boys today might not really know what like wide hips signify, so they might ask more questions about that, as girls should know.
I also find what I would find interesting is if we learned about the history of art, like the development from the goddess figurines to this couple statue and the bride, and how they all progress in society, how society views women over time. I mean, we start off with that matriarchal push, and then we head forward into that patriarchy. How did we come across that change?
I thought the piece we looked at was really interesting, how it was a modern interpretation of classic nudes and how it brought in more contemporary themes with her race and bringing in the 70s. So in many different ways it brought a whole new level to something very familiar to us.
Today, what was really interesting was the entire artwork, because at first when I seen it, I thought it was just some naked lady just trying to look pretty for the camera or something. But today we talked about it, and I found the deeper meaning of it, and I think that it's a great. I think that it's actually a great way to talk about different people and different races, just trying to be one.
Hearing what other people had to say about it was surprising, and some of the questions that some people asked. Like one of the questions, would you prefer to date or have intercourse with a lighter skinned person than a dark skinned person? That kind of surprised me. Because as me being a dark-skinned person, I understand some of the trials and tribulations that a lot of people who are darker skinned get criticized more or less than lighter skinned African American people, or just black people in general.
As someone else said, it was typical, and I hear the conversation all the time: who girls prefer, who boys prefer, the skin tone, race, and whatnot. In school, it's the same topic almost every day. Certain girls prefer certain boys, and the skin tones, and why they don't like certain skin tones for various different reasons. And I just feel it's irrelevant and it doesn't matter.
The name of this art piece is called A Couple. It was made in 2003. It was made by a French lady named Louise Bourgeois. It looked like she made this art piece out of aluminum, and from the waist up, she crafted her piece in a swirl type way, and it's two figures, and at the very top, they're not touching at all, but once you get into the middle, they're connected, and then when you get from the waist below, you have two legs, and they're not touching at all. I think that is the artist was trying to create an image like love doesn't, like, it has no boundaries. Like, I think she created it like this, like it doesn't have like a face. It's more of like an abstract, like it could be between a male or a female man, male, whatever your sexual preferences are. And I feel like how she wanted to show that love is universal and it could go for everybody.
I thought it was interesting when we were talking about Eva Hesse. Yeah, Eva Hesse. I thought it was interesting when we were talking about Eva Hesse that we were saying how maybe she didn't want to get married because it was forced upon her, that it was a demand for women to get married at the time, and how maybe she didn't want to get tied down. But I thought it was interesting while we were talking about that, even though I was one of the main people executing that idea, like she didn't want to be committed. I thought if we were to hear a guy have the same conversation about how he didn't want to be tied down to a girl, and how he didn't want to be committed, and how he wanted to be independent, we just think he was a jerk.
But actually, like, something new that I learned today was the symbolism behind the triangle and how she was trying to represent different cultures, different traditions, like in important women history in her perspective.
And girls aren't really familiar with their own bodies, but I feel like boys would be even more confused. Well, not confused, but like unfamiliar with just the visual presentation of a vulva. So I think they would probably be. I'd be interested in hearing what they have to say about that.
And I was really mostly interested in how women, from their perspective, saw the society, and how maybe a male would have described the dinner party, or how maybe the male making the dinner party would have been more powerful.
Mm-hmm. I have mixed feelings because I think it's very well done and very well thought out. But I do think that it leaves out the less recognized, more regular women in the world. So I think there's something to be said for them that she didn't say.
Someone said that men and women are equal, and so it surprised me that they really felt that men and women are actually equal.
The thing that the opposite sex said that was surprising to me was that females don't have it hard because they don't know what men go through. Like, they were posing the question that, or statement that males don't know what females go through. Because that was really it surprised me, because men, to me, if I feel as though they don't go through as much that women do. Like, they don't have their period, they don't give birth, they don't have they're not as emotional as women are. Not saying that they're not emotional, but they aren't as emotional as females.
What I totally disagreed with there was like the fact that some girls were trying to, I felt that they were trying to victimize women. Yes, they suffered, but I just like right now, for example, I'm not afraid to compete with men. I think that's good because we have our rights. Like okay, some people might think that we're not able to compete as much as with guys because of the fact that we're women, but actually you can do anything as long as you try.
I thought it was interesting, the standards. Well, what I learned today was the criteria they used to let some women participate in the dinner party. Because, I mean, one of the standards was what they contributed to society, if they were representative of their time, and other kind of very subjective things. So I think it's really interesting how they try to make it objective, but at the same time it's kind of impossible, because how do you measure how much someone contributed to society?
The thing I like most about art is that there's so many interpretations that you could do on one piece of artwork, and I like to hear other people's opinions on it.
I thought it was interesting that between a lot of the artworks we saw, there were many connections, and also the connections between the couple and the goddess I thought was really interesting. And just that there are so many different ways to interpret each piece, and it's really nice to hear everyone's opinions.
I'd like to learn more about how artists' personalities affect their artwork. I find that with all of these artists, with all of these artworks, the more modern artworks, that we actually know the people who made them. We can see how their past has affected their artwork and their perception of everything that's around them.
What would you tell other boys about feminism or feminist art?
That they shouldn't not like it because it's feminist. Because I know a lot of guys are against feminism, or some guys are. And it's just kind of one-sided to look at it that way, and it should be looked at with the same mentality as any other artwork.
I think that I learned not to be single-minded. I learned to have a broader vision of things. I learned women had to come. Women had lots of challenges in the past, trying to get their artwork and express their feelings, and they didn't necessarily get the credit that they deserved. And I learned that they went through a lot. They struggled a lot, and I think that they had the hardest history between the different sexes, male and female.
I would say that I have more of appreciation for women art. I just won't look at it and say the first thing that I see. I'll have more of an in-depth thought when I look at females in art now.
Talking specifically about feminist art has made me think even more about how women have shaped our lives and how they shaped the many kind of things that you could see in art, basically.
I think it's amazing how women have been trying to change people's minds since a long time ago.
What the Sackler internship program taught me was what women were actually, an idea of what they actually were. To me, they were just women as women. But I think we got more deep down into their psyche and find out how they kind of thought. I don't know, I just feel like I understand women a little bit better.
Feminism. In my own words, I would define feminism as a belief system, the belief that women are equivalent to men and that men are equivalent to women. Also, I think that feminism is a mentality of a woman to respect herself, respect other women, and to kind of just, have justice for all. Even though they're fighting for women, they're fighting for men in a way too. And it's kind of just to stress the importance of equality among men and women, not just women, even though it is a movement for women.
Advocating for other women, it's empowering women, it's I think it's also not being afraid to do something because guys tell you can't, or because other women before you haven't done it. You know, it's also about being able to, you know, just be proud of being a woman.
Fighting for the rights of women, and proving that women are equal, I think, would be a good definition.
I came out here to this internship because I really wanted to learn how women perceive their own work and how they were able to create their work using their own experiences. And in that process, I learned how to create my own work using my own experiences, like many other women artists.
I think this artwork would benefit boys and men because they would really understand like what's in the mindset of a woman, and they would know that we're not going to take this for longer of us being in the shadow of a man and him being a dominant of the household, a dominant in the world, in society, anything. As women, we're taking over, okay? Like Beyonce said, who runs the world? Girls. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to live up to that song. We're going to live up to everything. We're coming up. And we just want to notify the men that we feel this way. And I think they will appreciate that women are not backing down from any challenge that they have coming towards us.